but
It's a good thing he's had training for you. And he's a high-tech redneck on top of that.
okay, it doesn't look like we have anybody on the line yet, but I'm sure folks will be joining us in a minute. But this is the Wayne County Board of Education meeting for October 8th. It is 7:04. We're running a little bit late after an assembly for student recognitions. And is this mine? So, Missy, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. We'll go ahead and call our regular meeting of the Wayne County Board of Education to order. It is 7:05. We're running just a little behind. And if you'll stand, we'll say the pledge. Mr. Totten, will you lead us this evening?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let the record show that all board members are present in person this evening. And we can begin with our presentations.
Okay, first up is our academic spotlight, which is on using student data folders to drive growth. Nakia Gardner was scheduled to be our presenter this evening, but she is ill. So we have a substitute this evening. We have a pinch hitter, being Mr. Hayes.
Green Valley, wanted to do something different this year with student data folders. And so Nakia, along with Mr. Hayes and Mr. Carey and Mr. Totten, worked really hard to come up with a system and to pull some different forms together for students to be able to use to track their own data that would work. As a matter of fact, they did such a great job with it that the other high schools, our other two high schools, have actually asked Green Valley to share out their system and their forms.
Nice.
And it seems like it's going really, really well. So we just share a little bit with us about this.
I'll give you a little bit. We've talked about this for several years. Anytime, to give you an idea of when we try to look at any kind of a strategy or an initiative, I don't know if you've ever heard about John Hattie or Visible Learning, but what he did in this is, I'm giving you this is very abbreviated sketch of what he did. He didn't go out and do any sort of original research, but what he did is he looked at all of these strategies, 160 plus of them, and he went and gathered, for example, classroom size, student-teacher ratio, as one example. He went out and he compiled research on that particular issue. One thing he found is in all of those researches, individual researches conducted on class size, for example, he found that all of them in the end said to lower the class size works. But they didn't really say to what degree or the impact. And so what he did is he took all of these various strategies, and if you spin through this book, it's been called the Holy Grail for educators, but every time you see a barometer, that is a different strategy. And so he gave every strategy about a page or half a page, page and a half. So here's one, just to give you an example. Here's one on professional development, the impact it has. It's at 0.6. He found the hinge point for looking at any kind of a strategy to say, okay, this is one we want to look at, is in his, the statistics he used, when he would compile all these and spit out an impact number for his barometer, it was 0.4. So if you're at 0.4 impact or above, that's something that educators want to look at and say, well, if you do this strategy and you do it right, this is going to have a substantial impact on learning. And so the one that he found to have the greatest impact at 1.44 was student self-reported grades or student self-reporting. There are two parts to that. One is a self-reflection, is to look back on their performance, reflect on past performance. And then the second part of that, and we haven't got there yet, but we will, is to make a prediction on future performance. And so what we wanted to do really is get our students. So what was our problem? Our need was, our problem we have, but we got a lot better last year, attendance and tardiness and missing assignments. So we had students learning impacted by, when you look at Schoology, just a lot of missing assignments. So this summer, we seriously just locked ourselves in the conference room and said, we know this strategy works. How can we tackle this thing? And what do we look at? What do we measure just to start this? So I'm going to give you a couple of examples. This is one student, and this is another student. And so we said, okay, we're going to look at every Monday, we're going to look back on Schoology, every class, and see what our grade is. And we're going to plot that. And then we're going to go down into this grid that you see, the second part of this worksheet. And you have one worksheet for every class. So there should be 7 worksheets here. But the second part is you're going to go down and make notes of any missing assignments. Now, if you look at the one where they've colored in at the top like this is a kid, this is probably a fairly bright kid who, as I spin through it, looks like for the entire 6 weeks had a 90 or above. And so when you look down into the missing assignments, when they make notes, they noted no missing assignments, probably on every cell. So this is a kid who's come to school all the time and doing what they're supposed to do. The other one we'll look at here in a second. The other thing that we monitored is we look at every week is attendance. So they take this calendar and we gave them instructions on how to mark. So if you look at this one kid on September 4th, she looked back and she put an X through. She was absent that entire day. And that looks like that is the only absence that child has. So, and my guess, if you look, there's probably no behavior with this student either. If you continue to spin through this, they're going to write down their SAT scores, their PSAT scores in there. I think we're going to chart star data as well. Yeah, they have. The last page is their star data. So they've already put their baseline data. And so this student, for reading, put a star at above 80%. They're above 80% on both reading and math on star, if we look at that last page. So the point here is this: these kids are looking back at their performance. We want to keep what they do in the classrooms, in their attendance, and on these formative assessments. We want them to reflect on that and think about it. If you look at the other student, and if you look at for the first page on math, so they plotted. First couple of weeks they had 100, then it went down to about 88, and then went down to 83, and then so there should be 6 dots there, and there are. Missing assignments, if you look on week 4, it says check function values. And then if you look through the science and the others, you see where they plotted their grades. Week 3 for science, earthquake mini lab, so she had a missing assignment. Week 5 had a missing assignment. So those are just notes. A lot of times guys get to the end of the 6 weeks, students, and they say, I'm literally, I've had this happen this week, last week. Well, I'm failing. Well, when we pull up their Schoology, they had all sorts of missing assignments. And so this is just one way one tool we've given to our students to not midterm or at the end of the 6 weeks, every week to look back to see what their grade is and why, if it's a D or below, why is it that? And if you can look and you can see they're missing assignments. So that's what they're doing right now. Every Monday they chart their performance, they mark their missing assignments. The next part to that strategy, self-reporting, is then to make predictions about future performance. We're not there yet. We just want to get these guys mindful of what they're doing, of their attendance, and the impact of that being present and getting their assignments in and doing their work, putting the effort in, what that correlates to in terms of learning, and in this case, the grades. So we started that this year. We don't have any teachers, but we anytime you try to start anything new, Mr. Ross might can attest, there's always a teacher. Oh no, here's another thing. Teacher doesn't have to do a thing. The kids come in on Monday, they go to the Wolves Den, they pull their folder, and they chart their progress. They put it back, and we spin through. And sometimes I'll go and I'll pull and I'll look just to make sure kids are on task and doing what they're supposed to do. Has this had a measurable improvement in the first 6 weeks in terms of missing assignments? I have to think that it's at least made students more mindful of it. I don't know yet exactly what it's done, but that's what we're doing. We want to take it a next step, and we'll work with leadership team to make it, to decide on whatever we do in terms of predicting future performance. We want to do that with some uniformity throughout the building in each in all the classrooms. So that's where we got that work. That's actually, just give our staff kudos. This year they're going through John Hattie's work, Visible Learning for Teachers. We went through the first unit in our PL Day on Friday, and because they hear me talk a lot about John Hattie and his work and why I think it's important and why we should look at what he says is making difference in the classroom. And just to give you an idea of what we do when we try to look at a strategy, I'm really not looking for pie in the sky and programs to buy. It's what it really comes down. I'm a Socratic method kind of instructor. Give me a chalkboard, chalk, a student, paper, pencil, and I can teach and they'll learn. So we're really looking for ways that it really doesn't cost us anything. It changes what we do in the classroom. And in this case, we've provided a tool for students, and they've taken the initiative to chart their progress and be able to look back and monitor the work.
Are there, for the kids, I know you just sent it for 1 to 6 weeks, is there any counseling, or for the kids that are like missing a lot of assignments or having struggled, is there any kind of intervention with the teachers?
So what we do ongoing, we call them 720 meetings. We meet at 7:20. Teachers arrive here at 7:15. So at 7:20, our student support team, so the social workers, Cassie Snyder, teachers, if they've got a student who is has a performance, they're not performing in the classroom, they can call the counselor and say, I need to have a 7:20 meeting. Everybody knows what that means. Get that parent in here. And so at 7:20, you can get all your teachers at one table with the parent and the child, and you can start to talk about those things. One thing that's interesting is we had a student who failed a subject, and parents asking questions. If I go back and look at this folder, which I'm going to do for this particular student, I want to know if they're charting their missing assignments, because when I looked up on Schoology, they had all kinds of missing assignments. So I'm going to be interested to see if that particular student actually went in and did what they were supposed to do. I mean, it's really simple. I mean, it takes 5 minutes to do that. And if they're charting their work and they know they've got missing assignments and they're not making the effort to. But to answer your question, yes, we get parents involved pretty quick. Our social workers, counselors, even admin. I mean, it's all hands on deck on those sort of things.
Any other questions? It was interesting. We met with the teacher leadership, or not the teacher leadership, the student leadership, that student advisory group last spring, and asked the question to the students, and again, students from all over the district, about how do they know that they're doing well in school. And the one thing that they didn't bring up was grades. They are focused on these assessments and how they're performing on these assessments. Not one of them mentioned grades, which was fascinating. And so the more that we can get them tracking their progress on these assessments, the better off we're going to be. So we appreciate your all's work with
No, I appreciate it. I'll just say this. What was the school, you know, we're going to sit with the PSAT scores with all the kids. What was the school you talked to who did that?
Ravenswood High School.
Okay.
Mr. Alexander was there when the former, he's at Ripley now, but he was the former principal of Ravenswood High School.
So probably about 6 weeks ago, it was probably, had school even started, we heard from Putnam County, their director of secondary schools, say, I said, what have you all done to close this gap on the SAT school day? I said, well, one of the things we did is we sat down with each student, we gave them their PSAT scores and said, this is what you're predicted, we need you to be here. And so we're getting ready to do that. So the 4 admin, we're gonna start to knock that out hopefully next week. But we're gonna sit down with each one, tell them what past performance is, where they need to be. Listen, you're predicted to be here. What are you gonna do between now and then to close that gap? So we'll see how it goes.
Okay, very good. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you all.
I'll move the computer back around.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Move on to our good news section. I know we just went through quite a bit of good news out in the auditorium, but if anybody else has any good news they want to share? No more good news today? All right, informational items, fall break, no school on October 11th through the 14th. Special meeting on Tuesday, October 15th, beginning at 4 o'clock at Buffalo Elementary. And then we will have Buffalo Middle beginning at 5:15. Regular meeting on Tuesday, October 22nd at 6 at Tulsa High School. And then special meeting on Tuesday, October 29th, beginning at 4 for Dunlow, followed by Genoa at 5:15. Everybody okay with those?
Yes.
Great. Construction project updates.
Yeah, just a couple quick things. The Wayne Elementary School Major Improvement Project, the project had to halt last week because of all the rain. And so they are beginning to dig footers, and pouring concrete will be next. I don't know if they've gotten started on that yet, but they are starting on digging the footers this week. So we've began that project again. And then the other project that we're working on is just the design of the Buffalo K-8 school. We looked at some sample designs that the architects had come up with. We provided feedback and met with McKinley Architects on Friday and provided that feedback. So we're scheduled for a meeting again in 2 weeks to see what they've done with the feedback that we provided. Also, the traffic study that is supposed to take place at the school, which we've been waiting to get going, is scheduled to take place beginning this week. That's all I have.
Excellent. I don't think we have any delegations this evening.
No delegations.
All right. Superintendent reports.
Okay, real quick, and I'm going to pass down. A student attendance report. So last year, we did what we call a student attendance report. It's really to focus on chronic absenteeism. Take one and pass it down. And we've upgraded the attendance report this year. So last year, the student attendance report included the bar on the left, which is the attendance rate, and it measures how often the student is actually present. It's chronic absentee data. So if they are in school from 95 to 100% of the time, that's exemplary. Anything below 89%, we label the student as academically at risk. Okay, so it measures anytime the student's out, regardless of the reason, and then we report that out when we send the report cards out. This year, we added the bar to the right, which is what we call a punctuality rate. Now, you'll note that on the one that I just handed you, there's a spelling error there. That was corrected before these went out.
Gotcha.
This was a copy of the original one, and so that is corrected on the new ones. But one of the things that we hear consistently from the elementary schools and the middle schools is that tardiness is a huge issue. And of course, at those grade levels, the students aren't driving.
All right.
So, they're either they're being brought to school and
Yeah.
sometimes they're being brought to school late. So we wanted to put an emphasis on it and
Good.
start doing some reporting. So what this measures is if a student misses up to 25% of the school day, and that's either in the morning or if they're checked out early in the afternoon, then that would count against them on this bar. And then it's graded by the same scale that you see in the center. We have the green, yellow, red system. And so we just printed these up for the first 6 weeks. I think they went out yesterday, was the first time that they have went out. So again, we're trying to bring attention to both chronic absenteeism and tardiness.
Great.
In your separate attachments, your monthly financial report is there. It's on page 14. And I wanted to give you a chance if anybody has any questions regarding the monthly financial report.
I kind of wondered what that salary student was for $360. Got the 7th line.
Go ahead, Jim.
I just wondered what that was. What was the,
We pay the Pro Start students for doing the
okay,
evening
okay.
activities that our
Okay.
okay,
teacher.
because that money will come, that's CTE money, right?
No, we have to pay that for ourselves.
Oh, okay, Pro Start.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what you're
CTE is the CTE supplies and things are funded by the CTE.
Oh, right, this is
Fund,
salaries, you're paying
But
the
since
students.
it's salaries, the
Right,
county
gotcha.
paid for that.
I just
So
wondered.
it's rare that you'll see that on there.
I know, that's why I kind of,
Yeah, a year or so ago when we did the camera installation, you remember we got students involved in that
Right.
project. That money appeared here.
Gotcha.
And then, but this particular item is we did pay them for helping with our
Good.
awards assembly for our
okay,
teachers.
because we just hadn't seen it like this, so that was it.
Okay, well, it's more of an FYI. If any questions come up, feel free to ask. And at the last meeting, we talked about a couple things I want to point out. One of the board members had requested a cell phone list of assigned cell phones in the district. So I'm going to pass those down. Again, this is just an FYI. And you'll see the different departments that those are assigned to.
Thank you.
And then Mr. Ross had brought up that a fire truck was going to be donated to our new fire training program.
Mhm.
And so we received a letter from the chief of the Lavalette Volunteer Fire Department, Mr. Jason Kazad, that fire truck has been donated.
Excellent. Very nice.
I'll give you one of those to pass down. So we certainly thank the Lavalette Volunteer Fire Department for volunteering equipment. I think, Mark, you mentioned to me prior to the meeting that there's a lot of equipment donations coming in.
There have been more donated, and our instructor requested more space at either Spring Valley or Tulsa.
So that's good news.
Yeah,
Very good.
very good.
We're looking for storage, so that's good news.
Great.
And I believe that's all I have.
Excellent.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Todd, let me pass this back down. That student attendance thing, I kind of check on this when I'm producing stuff and kind of read through,
Okay.
cross out.
Oh, gotcha. All right. No board directives or board reports this week? No unfinished business. New business, consent action items. Superintendent recommends approval of the following action items. Additional items received prior to the time of the meeting may be added. Discussion and/or separate action of items may be requested by members of the board and/or the superintendent. Items are subject to change. Any blanks will be filled in prior to the meeting. In the event a nominee withdraws, we reserve the right to put the next candidate in the position.
And I'm going to provide the amended version.
Gotcha.
There's just one small change. Take one and pass it down.
There you go.
And that change is on page 3. The very first item, Kayla Criswell is an ECAT at CK Elementary. She had requested an unpaid FMLA. She has now changed that request to I'm sorry, she had requested a paid FMLA. She's now requested that be unpaid.
Make a motion to approve as amended.
I second.
Motion by Randy, second by Johnita, for the approval of recommended personnel matters as revised. Any questions or concerns on those personnel matters? No one? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. 2, consider for approval the minutes of the Wayne County Board of Education, actually 2, 3, and 4, if we could consider those collectively.
Make a motion to approve them collectively.
Thank you. Motion by Johnita, second.
I'll second.
Second by Dennis. Any questions or concerns on the meeting minutes? And that was July 23rd, August 6th, and August 13th. None?
No, but I just had a suggestion because always before, we've never had to have the transfers, the budget transfers.
Okay.
And, I mean, they've already been, they're approved, so
Right.
we just show that they were approved.
Just
Shouldn't
not
have to really
include
make
with the
copies
minutes.
of all that, okay?
Okay.
That's just a helpful suggestion.
I'll make a note.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All righty.
I'm saving a tree, Todd,
Or 2, maybe.
or 2.
No other questions? All in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Number 5, consider for approval the voucher payments for September 2024, pages 56 through 65.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Johnita, second. Anyone?
Second.
Randy? Questions or concerns on those voucher payments?
One of the things that we had discussed at a previous meeting is on some of the ones that come through with heavy expenditures, for example, like the Amazon accounts, that we would run some information off. So I do have the information on the Amazon accounts here. That I'll be glad for you guys to take.
Okay.
I can copy and send it to anybody that wants it.
Great.
Okay.
All right, any other questions or concerns on voucher payments for September 2024? None? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. 6, consider for approval of purchase requisition order and quotes in excess of $5,000, pages 66 through 82. Need a motion?
Motion.
Dennis? Second?
Second.
Johnita? Questions or concerns? Any of those? I don't think I had any. No, I think I'm good. No one? Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Move on to new business, separate action items. Number 1, consider for approval the treasurer report for September 2024 on page 83. Motion,
So moved.
Mark. Second,
Second.
Johnita. Questions or concerns on the treasurer report? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. 2, consider for approval the budget supplements and transfers for September 2024, pages 84 through 92. Motion,
Motion.
Johnita. Second,
Second.
Randy. Questions or concerns on the budget supplement and transfers? None? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Number 3, consider for approval the job description for the Golden Girls tutor. It's a supplemental position.
This is paid out of title funds. We'll make-
Randy, I'm sorry.
Motion.
Randy had the motion.
I'll
Second, Johnita.
Yeah.
And this is a title.
Yeah.
Funded position.
Yeah, and that goes for number 3 and number 4, the Golden Girls and the Stepping Stones tutors. These are, this is a position that has existed, and one person held both positions, but in the past, they've tried to split them out because 2 different locations.
Sure.
One's for females, one's
One's
for
for
males.
Yeah.
Right,
So they'll make an attempt to
try that again.
get two separate people, but the job description's been updated. It's a new job description, so that's why it's in front of you.
All right, so Randy made the motion, Johnita made the second on the Golden Girls tutor. Is there any questions or concerns on that particular job description? No? All right. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Consider for approval the job description for the Stepping Stones tutor, also a title funded position.
Motion.
Motion by Johnita, second.
I'll make it.
Dennis. Questions or concerns on that job description? None?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Number 5, consider for approval the out-of-state travel request. Employees to travel to Hartford, Connecticut to attend the National Autism and Deaf Education Conference, October 16th through the 18th. And this is- Dennis made the motion. Second, Johnita. This is funded by a special needs program. Any questions or concerns on that travel? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. 6, consider for approval out-of-state travel request. Employees to travel to Austin, Texas to attend the National Athletic Directors Conference, December 13th through the 18th, and that's funded by SBHS boosters and the school.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Johnita.
Second.
Was that Dennis?
Yeah.
Second by Dennis. Any questions or concerns on that employee travel? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. 7, consider for approval out-of-state travel request. Employees to travel to Washington, D.C. to attend the 2024 awards ceremony for the National Blue Ribbon Schools, November 6th through the 8th, and that's funded by Title I.
Motion.
Motion by Johnita. Second,
Great opportunity.
Second.
Randy. Questions or concerns on that employee travel?
Yeah, they have an award ceremony for those blue ribbon schools. They invite two persons from the school to attend, and then they invite the superintendent of the district as
That's
well.
awesome.
Yeah, I think that's great. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Yeah, I'm surprised Johnny didn't try to block me on that.
She talked about it, but, you know. Number 8, consider for approval the adoption of policies 7530.02, 3120.12, and 2371.1.
All 3 of these policies have been up for 10-day public comment. There were no comments received. We did receive comment on 2371.1. We went over that during the last meeting, made some modifications, put it back out for comment. So all are ready for approval if you so choose.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Randy, second by Johnita for approval. Any questions or concerns on those policies? None?
Nope.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Potential items for future agendas.
Yeah, so every year, at this time of year, we have to take a look at our comprehensive educational facilities plan.
Yep.
And I'm going to go ahead and give you a handout tonight of the update that we submitted last fall, to give you a chance to
Good, they'll save me from hunting for it.
look this over before it'll be an agenda item at one of your coming meetings. And so you can see the items on here, and it's important to look at the column on the right to see the status, because some of these projects have been completed. And so when I do the update, for example, like the Lavalette and Pritchard window, or I'm sorry, the Lavalette Pritchard or window replacement will be marked to complete.
Completed one.
On the second page, the back page, you see a number of items there. Of course, you have the renovation for the new Buffalo K through 8 that will be marked as in progress. The Wayne Metal Safe Schools project will be marked as complete. So we'll be updating this.
Okay.
We also have the chance to change any of the priority ranking that we have on here as well. So when these were originally laid out, these were priority ranked. And so this is our chance to do updates. And again, we'll be doing that in an upcoming meeting if you have any suggestions for the list moving forward. The second item I have is personnel season planning. If you'll take one and pass it down, this is something that you've seen before. As a matter of fact, during our last school board association meeting, I believe that they were going over this data with you again. But I just want to remind you that on October 1st was our second month enrollment count. And so the State Department is working on producing the preliminary computations for next year. So they will update these documents to show where we stand with positions over formula for the coming school year, for the 25-26 year. And so I just wanted to remind you, when you looked at Wayne on the list, as far as, and you go to the far right column, it shows you the number of positions that were employed in excess of the, what they call the limits net charters, which is in excess of the funding formula. And we were at 65 positions over on the professional side. Now, we believe we reduced a number of positions. We believe that number is going to drop by about 30 on the new preliminary comps. So that would put us at about 35 positions over formula. Now, we know we dropped 30 positions, but this number will also adjust based upon our new enrollment number from October 1st of this year. The good news is we had talked earlier that number was looking like it was going to be, I can't remember the exact number, but I think it was around 65. We thought that number was going to be down, which would have been the lowest drop in the last 8 years.
Yeah.
Still a fairly significant drop. There's a chance that the number is going to be even better than that. Okay. And so, you might ask me, well, it's October 8th. Why don't you have a final number? It goes to the State Department. They identify errors. There's errors that have to be corrected. So that number has not been finalized as yet. So I don't want to predict it yet, but we think that there's a possibility it's going to be even lower than that. So if it is lower than that, we think that number could be impacted possibly by around 2.5 positions. So it'd be 2.5 positions that the state doesn't fund that are added to our number over. So if we've dropped 30, that would drop us down to about 35 over on the professional side. And then you would add another 2.5 for this year's enrollment drop, which would take us up to about 37.5. And the target we're looking for is about 20. We think if we get to 20, that we will be able to build a reserve, still do projects, and still continue to build the carryover amount. Now, if you go to page 2, this is the service personnel. This one's trickier. So you have Wayne, and again, if you go all the way out to the column to the right, you're going to see that we are listed at 68.21 positions over formula. Now, again, you can look up and down. All the counties are listed. You can look up and down and see that we carry one of the higher numbers for positions over formula. There's 2 big reasons for that. Our geographic size and the number of schools that we have and the size of those schools. So all of that factors in. And so anyway, that number stands at 68.21. So on the service side, do you remember we added the ECATs for the second grade? So we really didn't cut anything on the service side. Anything that we cut was minimal. We think on the service side that number will probably go up. If we have a smaller enrollment drop, it'll go up around 3-4, which would take it up to around 72. But then what we have to deal with is we're adding ECATs in third grade next year. Now, it's not 100% funded, and they fund it based upon the number of third grade students that you have in the district. So if you have small pockets of third graders,
Right.
where you have, they're funding the ECAT for, I guess it would be, what would it be, Jeb? Probably about every 25 third graders, they would fund an ECAT position. Well, if you have 2 small schools that have 15 and 14 in their third grades in those particular schools, we get funded for a little over 1 ECAT there, but it's going to take 2 based upon those schools. And so that's where it falls short.
Yep.
So we think that we're hopeful that the projected number there is 75 or lower. We're hoping on the service side that it comes in at approximately 37 or so.
Mhm.
And that's what we'll be starting to work with as we go through budget season. Okay. And then as we talked earlier, we've looked at student staff ratios and things like that. And so we'll be looking at the comprehensive educational facility plans as well. And so as we move forward, we'll have some discussion about the small schools. I might bring you some numbers on our smaller schools to see if it's time for us to start thinking about doing something with those schools. Okay, as enrollment continues to drop. We think we're going to be around 6,000 this year, right at the 6,000 mark. I think today, before the official numbers are set, we're just below 6,000, something like 5,997, something like that.
Wow.
Now, again, that number fluctuates day to day.
Right.
I mean, it literally changes every single day, but that one snapshot in time we think is going to be near that 6,000 mark. So I just wanted to share that information with you. And then the final thing I want to mention, in the voucher, I was looking for it.
Yeah.
In the voucher payments, there were some significant payments to Mason and Berry, and we were paying off the multi-school HVAC project, and we were also paying off the HVAC work that had been completed at Wayne Elementary School, because those accounts had to be closed out at the end of September. We had to have everything out the door.
Okay.
Title programs are now working. Their due date is the end of this month. So they have some money that were saved last year. So, for example, we changed providers on our administrator training in the summer, and you remember that changed that format. We predicting a significant reduction in cost there. So there's a number of things that allowed us to have a significant amount of money left over there. And so we're going to be bringing, what we're going to try to do is use that money. It's going to be a significant amount of money, up to $400,000. We're going to try to use that to support the new math implementation that's going on in grades K through 8 with Carnegie. So we're going to use that money, and you can't use it for salaries. You know, we looked at the possibility of doing some interventionists for the remainder of the year. We even looked at the possibility of having some ECATs in some third grade classrooms that really have some struggling data. You can't use it for salaries. It's got to be used for programming, for professional development, that type of thing. So we're going to be doing some embedded work with Carnegie in the schools. We've already contracted for that. We think we're going to expand on it. The curriculum, I'm hearing some really good reviews about the curriculum and how rigorous it is, but it's also difficult.
Right.
And the more that we can support the teachers with it, the more that we can avoid an implementation dip in this first year as they work with this new curriculum. So I just wanted to prepare you for that on the next agenda.
Good.
Okay,
All right. Thanks, Tom.
that's all I have.
Anyone
Let's
else?
adjourn. Go ahead, what were you gonna
I was
say?
just going to see if anybody else had anything to add. But
Do
if
they?
not, I don't think so.
Okay, then.
Second.
Motion by Johnita, second by Randy.
That's right, buddy. Thanks, Randy.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0, and it is 7:51.
Okay,
Thank
for
you.
you folks that joined us online, this concludes the meeting. Thank you.